postman's coming, and it's kind of awkward. I'm going to look at this, some chunky chili. Wow, do you ever look at yourself in the mirror in the morning and just think, oh, you look so rough? So first things first, before we get on with anything in relation to the car, we need to go and sort all this out. I'm looking pretty bad. Let's go. Yeah, we're back. Fresh cut. Boom. Let's talk about the amount of money that you can put into your Mark IV Golf in a year. I've basically broken it down into different categories that I want to talk about, and you can leave in the comments if you agree or disagree. So firstly, whenever I purchase a car or go to purchase a car, I want to make sure that I'm not going to be forking out thousands of pounds a year, and I'm kind of spending the minimum amount that I can for a semi-performance car, which I would say this is. It's quote unquote performance orientated. It's a Golf GTI. So firstly, let's talk about miles per gallon, because this is where most of your money is going to be incurred, is through the amount of fuel that you put in this car. Now for me at the pumps, I just use 95 octane. This car recommends that you put in 97. Over here in England, that's about 5 to 10p more a litre. For me, it's just not worth it. I just don't drive the car enough. I don't drive the car hard enough to even be able to reap the rewards of more octane in the fuel. So I don't put it in. 95 I put in, and I've put 95 in all my cars, and even if they are semi-performance, they've not died. So I put in that. I do about 5 miles to work every day each way, so 10 miles a day. Add another 5, it's about 50 miles a day I do in this car, and I probably put about 50 quid a month in, you know, give or take the odd 30, 40 miles here. I do quite a few miles, put it that way. And I get roughly anywhere from 28 miles per gallon to upwards of 40. The most I've seen is 42, and that was on a long motorway run, international speed limit. So there's a lot of kind of fifth gear just cruising along. You can get way better miles per gallon if you slipstream behind the lorry. I quite like doing that if I'm on the red and I'm trying to get home and I can't be bothered to put fuel in. I'll just sit at 55 miles an hour. I'll find a lorry to sit behind, and obviously the lorry's taking all of the air, it's breaking the air for you, and you're just kind of slipping in behind. You save yourself a bit of money. So I've worked it out per year. I probably put in about £720 worth of fuel in every year into this car, which, yes, it's not a Prius, and yes, it's not a gas guzzling AMG, you know, car. It's just a Golf GTI. Probably around about 720 quid of fuel in a year. That's now, in a year's time, fuel's probably going to be a lot more expensive, and we'll all be on skateboards. So that's the miles per gallon. Again, you can have it remapped if you want slightly better performance and more miles per gallon, but we're just talking about stock anyway, fine. So I've done a full service in this car, 200 quid all in, oil, all your what are they called? Fluids, all of your fluids, 200 quid, air filter, cabin filter. I've swapped over the air filter to a ram air filter. Again, if you didn't have that, you would knock 70 quid off that total. So all in all, not bad for servicing. The S500 I have, it takes about 15 million quarts of oil, which is ridiculous. A coil pack is upwards of 500 quid. You've got like 38 different spark plugs. That car to service is about £500. So to service this is £200. That kind of just puts it all into perspective. Yes. So yeah, I think if you've got a GTI and you want to service it yourself, you can save a bunch of money and it's not really that expensive to do yourself. Now this is the big one for me. I have the worst luck when it basically comes to life, including that of cars. All my cars break. I don't drive them aggressively, I don't push them, I don't do much to them really, other than drive them to and from work, and they just let me down constantly, which is quite sad. This let me down on the second day of ownership. I don't think the original seller knew, but it messed me over on the motorway. The water pump failed. Basically in the water pump, this could look weird, there's like a small plastic impeller that has just kind of shot off and just gone into the ether effectively. I just realised what I've done, and that's quite funny. So yeah, basically the little impeller shot off and just dispersed into my engine. Thankfully it didn't cost too much. If you went to VW though, they're looking at £950 worth of repairs. I took it to a small garage and it cost me a mere £400 to £500. So, and that goes on all of these cars. Anything with a 1.8 turbo engine, so the Audi TT, this and the Cupra, all have the plastic impellers, and they all like to shoot off and just disperse into your engine. So check the service history. If that hasn't been done, I recommend just spending the 400 quid and just doing it, because you don't want to be sat along the M25 waiting for recovery because you can't drive your car. I mean, you can drive it, it just won't last very long. For me personally, it would go from 90 and then about 3 minutes later it'd be at 130. So I had like 3 minutes of driving time at 60 miles an hour that I had to get to the next junction. A junction on that stretch of the motorway is like every 5 miles. It took me an hour and a half to get there. So yeah, just be mindful. So that was 400 quid. That is touch wood. I mean, we got some fake wood down here that I'll touch. Is the only repair that I've done on this car so far. There's not really much else that is wrong with the 1.8 engines. Drive shafts can often go, but I don't really push mine hard enough, and I don't think the previous owner did. So £400 all in there, not bad. Modifications is the next thing, and you can spend upwards of, you know, 10 grand forging the engine and doing whatever. For me, I've got some R32 alloys on there. I want to black out the windows, I want to remap it, stage 2. I've got an air filter in there. All that work, you're probably looking at about £1,000 to make it a 230, 240 brake horsepower little hatchback. That's not really bad. So you can pick up one of these for about £1,000 to £1,500 for a really nice one. The postman's coming, and it's kind of awkward. I'm going to look at this. Some chunky chili. I hope he's already done. He's not walking past it, we're good. I can put the chili down. Oh, there's definitely a child walking by. I'm going to cover the camera because definitely haven't asked their parents' permission to film her. Not film her, but film me, and yikes. Yeah, so 240 brake for £1,000. You can pick up one of these for 1,000 to 1,500 quid if you're that way inclined. £1,000, you're looking at what, you know, £2,500 potentially. You probably can't get that performance elsewhere. So yeah, we got 720 quid worth of fuel, 400 quid worth of repairs, probably about £1,000 spent on modifications if you're that way inclined, and that's kind of your yearly running costs. Obviously you don't spend £1,000 a year on mods, but I guess your first year you might. So yeah, that's kind of the yearly cost of having a GTI. It's not really that bad. You get quite a lot of performance for your money. It looks nice. I don't like the newer ones, I don't like the older ones. I like the Mark IV, which is what I'm in, thankfully. Yeah, the interior is a bit shoddy. This isn't really a car review. Yeah, so you can add all that up. I didn't really get a good GCSE in maths, so you can add it all up. And yeah, those are my yearly costs. If your yearly costs are astronomical, then leave it down below and we can compare our running costs of our Mark IV GTIs, which is quite sad really, isn't it? But that's just the way of the economy. No one has any money, so we have to make these videos to inform people that they also won't have any money if they buy a car. Either way, so that's the yearly running costs of the Mark IV Golf GTI. Thank you for checking out this video. Make sure you hit that like button down below and drop me a comment if you've enjoyed. I'll make sure to get back to you. I'm now gonna pick up my chunky chili and my 24 meatballs and pretend I didn't vlog. Until the next video, take care.